do I go live on Instagram?
We're live, baby.
We are live.
We're actually also not muted.
Look at that.
All right. Hello.
Welcome. Mark, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you, Dano. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I am so excited for today's episode and today's little battle that we've got planned out.
I got my knives sharpened, my boxing gloves in the corner.
Everybody, welcome to Everything to Gain, episode 5. And we kind of call this things they don't teach you in school.
This should be episode 5,000 at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, and we're not just going to talk about like home economics, which they don't talk about anymore, or even like tax prep or financial advice. We're not doing that. What are we doing, Mark?
Talking about all the stuff that you need to know to succeed in the digital world. There's a whole thing around what is school for, which is an age-old debate. And Dan and I are of the mind that school doesn't do quite the preparation job it should, or maybe it used to and doesn't anymore.
So while this episode may have more meaning for the Gen Z or millennials in the audience, I think Gen Xers will definitely feel some of the pain too, because we do. Mark and I are Gen Xers, and we definitely feel it. So there you go. Star Wars, there you go. All right. Yeah, you are a rebel. You are such a rebel.
Gen X.
So anyway, we're going to start it off, right? And the first topic we're going to talk about is taking big risks, because you're young and you're the youngest you'll ever be today.
Taking big risks is generally not what they teach you in school. You're taught to play it safe. You're taught to stay within the lines.
Color inside the line.
Yeah,
color inside the line.
Right.
There you go.
So I don't think this is like a nice to have. It's not a personality thing like it used to be. Taking risks is a requirement for success in the real world. And yet you're punished for taking risks in school. So,
well, I mean, when we were early in our careers, right, we went straight and narrow, as straight and narrow as it could be, and it took us until our 50s to really break out, right? Late 40s, early 50s.
I'm still in my 30s, pal, so go easy.
Well, you look good, so
I'm kidding.
But there's that idea, right, that you have to delay the inevitable. It's what I think it is. I think it's delaying the inevitable.
I actually want to ratchet up the severity of this for a second. Dan and I were talking previous about what school is, and I remember using the analogy of school is essentially a conveyor belt, right? It's a conveyor belt that puts you on at the front, and at the back end you get off and you get your job. And I said, this is the Gen X in me. For those who remember Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, that's the conveyor belt. There's this giant rock crusher at the back end of this thing that's going to smash these kids, and there's a blood smear on the stone. You can reference the movie. The point is, getting on the conveyor belt, no one questions it. Like, I'm not anti-school, but where it's taking you, where that conveyor belt is, that's the issue. And the risk becomes buying into that, trusting that you're going to get a job, doing the whole routine under the hope of. And people are starting to realize now, right? In an AI world, things are changing. So taking a risk, I don't know what that exactly means, but just doing the regular system you're given is the risk. So
you're Indiana Jones, right? Or we're all Indiana Jones, right? And you're saying that you've got to fight that big guard that's trying to beat you up and avoid the conveyor belt. I'm saying, well, it's okay. I'm okay with the conveyor belt, for a time. I'm okay with it.
But you know where it ends.
I do, yeah, but I'm still okay with it. But I think you can jump off.
Like, I understand.
You get on, and then you jump off. You're telling me that you shouldn't even get on the conveyor belt.
Your perspective is ride the gravy train, right? If you can make a few bucks, do the job thing, and then you can get off later as long as you're building the skills. And I normally would agree with you, But I believe that the AI world changes faster than people are anticipating. I don't think you're going to have the amount of time that people think they will to adapt to what's coming.
Which actually goes right to our next topic. So AI is coming for your job now, even if you're an AI. So where do you stand with this?
If you remember, the first thing that schools did when ChatGPT arrived was what? Do you remember what they did?
Yeah, they started policing kids that were using ChatGPT.
They did that. They banned it, and then they tried to police it. They're still doing this, and they're battling. It reminds me when rock and roll was banned because Elvis shakes his hips. Like, you can do all you want to stop reality, but it's here. And guess what? It is going to replace jobs.
And
Well,
did you notice there was an article this week
no,
about how teachers are now using AI to grade the papers written by students
good.
using AI?
I got no problem with that.
But
Why
now
wouldn't
there are
you?
all these ethical questions around that, but that's a different show. So
Ethically, you can rub two sticks together to make fire. It's not a problem. But I'll just use the matches, thank you. Like, I don't understand why electricity is a problem.
so you think AI is coming for the jobs now. I agree, but I still think there's a window. You can still go on that conveyor belt.
Let me give you the business owner perspective. Dan, you own a business. You know what I'm talking about. I can hire people to help me in the creation and distribution of the content I do for customers. Or I can agent GPT and put together an agentive workflow through machinery that I don't have to hire and pay. As a capitalist, every company is going to say to themselves, at least right now, how can we make the people more efficient? But ultimately, it becomes, how do I need to not pay people? And I'm not trying to be like,
Right. It's capitalism at its finest, right? At its bare minimum,
right.
right?
So knowing that, and everyone listening right now knows what we're saying is true. The question is, how long is your conveyor belt? How long do you think you got? I don't know any more than you do, but why not take the chances now?
And rules-based jobs. I think we can agree. All rules-based jobs, I think they're toast, right? I mean,
Toast.
finance, accounting, long-haul trucking, right? That's a rules-based job,
Right.
right? And we know that with automated automated driving, automated transportation, I think there's a lot of people that are just going to be put out sooner rather than later.
So on this point, Andy Weiss is in the chats here, Dan. Hope the conveyor
Andy,
belt.
what's up? How are you? Good to
The,
see you.
the hope is that the conveyor belt takes you to a job. That's the risk. This is Andy's comment.
Yeah.
Andy, I don't know that you want the conveyor belt to take you to the job is my argument, because that conveyor belt continues at the next job. You're still on the conveyor belt. The job, any job, is the issue. And I'm not saying all jobs go away, but the jobs that will be remaining when this is all shaken out might not be the jobs people want.
Well, that's actually coming later, right? In our discussion, the jobs that will be defined later, yes. But the skill building, I think the skill building is still important for
That's
the people
valid.
to get on the conveyor belt. And I also think that um, there's there's people that don't know any different, right? And then they're potentially stuck in what they're doing and
That's
in
most people
their job.
today. Dan, that's most people today. And even
Most
at the
people do.
highest levels,
Yeah,
six-figure earners,
yeah,
people
and
feel trapped hanging on by their fingernails.
hanging on the fingernails. And so I have a lot of EQ and empathy for them because
Me too. We've been
they
there.
have they got bills to pay. They got to put the kids through school and they got to save for college and retirement. I get it. But anyway, this goes on to right into our next subject, which is
Launch your side hustle
hustles
ASAP.
ASAP,
Right.
right?
As soon as you can, you should be launching something. You don't need to leave your job, but you should be doing some sort of brand building on the side, some e-com. I don't care what it is, but something where you're familiarizing yourself with the digital skills, which is the modern world of business now.
And it's really about diversifying how you make your money, right? So you could de-risk, right? If you have savings or you have a 401k or any kind of investments, you're going to diversify. You're not going to put everything into one stock, like I don't know, LEH. But
I used to own that. I owned a lot of that.
and so you got to diversify how you make your money too, not just how you're saving for the future. So which then brings us to our next subject.
Perfection.
Which is perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection, right? So everyone's looking for that perfect job. Like, I want that dream job. I want that dream career. And, I want to work at, fancy investment bank or perfect digital agency, or the number one name brand in consumer, packaged goods. But as we know, right,
Perfection's a
that
waste of time.
it is. I think we agree on this completely, right?
Totally.
I think everybody gets in that
But you know what,
mode of.
Dan? I would pick at that a bit. I don't think people are looking for the perfect job right now. People just want to be happy with what they're doing, and most people are not. And I understand that.
Sure, but I still think that people get stuck.
Yes.
People get stuck. They're ready, aim, fire, right? And they go ready, aim, 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 and
But that takes us back to
they don't
point number
execute.
one of taking a big risk. You gotta go. You gotta jump.
You got to jump. You got to jump. And I think with today, ready, fire, aim is just the way to go, right? You have to make your pivot later anyway, so you might as well, as soon as you're ready, go for it, and then make your pivots, when you can.
I'll tell you a quick side story, Dan. When I first launched what I'm doing, I left Wall Street, big money job. It was great, whatever. After all those years, at the 2-year mark, as you know, your Series 7 expires. You really can't go back to finance. You can, but you got to take a 6-hour test. So I'm at that 2-year window where I'm about to lose my license. I've been doing this for 2 years at the time. A good buddy of mine from Lehman calls me up and he's like, dude, I'm launching something, getting involved with a fund. It might need you on the trading desk if you have a window of time to basically jump back in the business. And I'm like, it's a risk. You don't know. I understand how these people feel, but the reality is if you don't take the risk now, you're going to have to take it later and you're just going to be older. So I ended up,
So you might as well.
I stuck with what I was doing and here I am now. So and it worked out. My point is, I know risks are scary, but the bigger risk is not taking the risk, right? Perfection is a waste of time.
But I think that's how we were brought up, right? Straight A's, right? Straight A's, that's good, right? And
Right.
go to name brand university, good, right? And this really good just goes right into the next topic right here. So, we're brought up where IQ is the way to go.
All about IQ. That's the
It's
whole
all
school
about
system.
IQ.
But is that
Like
what wins in the world?
that's how we're raised. That's how we're raised, right? And if anything that we've learned over the past few years, anybody can buy IQ or knowledge, right? And then you could buy it for cheap, right? Because you can go to
ChatGPT.
University
You
of
can,
Phoenix. You can
right.
go to now it's not just free, on your phone, not just free on your phone, but it's now served up, right, with ChatGPT. And so I think the differentiator for everybody is going to be the EQ. And so EQ over IQ. I talk
Explain
about
that.
all the time.
Explain that.
And, well, you'll never be as smart as an AI. You'll never be as smart as an AI. But an AI at the same time will never be as human as you are.
Right.
So you got to bring the human element, the EQ, the empathy, the ability to have not just your perception, but the perspective of the other person, the other party, whoever you're talking to. So, I think that's undefeated, right? So
I had a conversation with a quant at a French bank when I was working there years ago, and I said to him, he was saying that you just got to be, as long as you're smart enough, you don't need to, it doesn't matter if you have a network or not. This was a real debate. And I said, everything you'll ever have in your life, everything will come to you through another person, period. From relationships to money to opportunity. Dan, I don't know for you, but for me, like every job I ever had on Wall Street, and there were a lot of them, came through some contact I made along the way. And so EQ is your opportunity opener. It's the vehicle that will get you where you're going. IQ you can buy. And I'm not like, I don't mean to minimize that.
And it's free. Now it's free. Now it's free and served up, right? So the EQ and empathy that leads to the network, right? And so, as you say, everything you get comes from other people,
which creates an obligation to create that network.
Right, but the networking as the guru of networking, Keith Ferrazzi, right, with his book Never Eat Alone, right? It's all about giving and never counting points, right? Give. Don't worry about the points because everybody forgets to factor in time.
Right.
right, or timing into every conversation, because, and I think that's the failing of a lot of people who look at networking as transactional now. I think that's the opposite, right? That's the IQ part of networking, right? Where it should be more about connecting and building the relationships.
So people confuse networking with selling all the
Right.
time. Hey, saw you engage with my content. Got this yesterday. We should connect for a cup of coffee. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, God. Every day on LinkedIn.
That's what I'm
I mean,
talking
I get
about.
hit up every day on LinkedIn. Just
So, and how
it's
much of this?
the
So, just to refresh and reset the room here, how much of this is taught in school? Right, none of what we're talking about. AI is coming for your job. They don't really want to talk about that. Launching a side hustle as soon as you can.
none of it.
Perfection, the EQ
None of
thing,
it.
right? Networking. How many networking classes did you take in college? You're like, right.
Zero. Zero. Right.
Anyway,
Right. And I think schools are trying to do a better job at that. Right. I think they're trying. I think that they are creating opportunities to network, right, by having alumni functions. They're doing better at it. But I still think there's a massive
but
gap.
Dan, I've listened to you for 15 seconds in a bar, and I've learned more about networking than everything I learned from Lehigh University. And I'm talking about having an elevator pitch, making sure people know they can apply you, how to outreach to people directly and indirectly. These are things that schools could teach. I mean, formally teach, not like, hey, if you want to come to the after school thing. Like this is a requirement in the world we live in, especially when it's AI.
Right. Well, and this goes right into finding your next, possible work life, right? So next possible work life, as we know that if you're not networking, right, all the jobs that are worth it, all the hidden jobs, the hidden job network, it's all through networking, right? So I've been pounding on this forever. Applying blindly is a complete waste of time, right? And all you're doing is getting into that big pile of applicants, and the most effective way to get to whether or not you look good and whether the company looks good to you is through networking, right? And you gotta ask for help.
I-
You
I-
gotta
I'll,
ask for help.
I'll tell a quick story that you'll relate to. Everyone will understand this. I was working at Lehman. My manager goes on to become the CEO at another company. And I hit him up when I was unhappy in my other role and said, hey, dude, when you're ready, if you care, I'd love to work with you again. And he was like, yeah, call me back in July. It's like 6 months later. The point was the role hadn't been created yet, but the
Yeah,
network was strong.
absolutely.
And you can
Absolutely.
argue that's unfair, but we all know, everyone listening, that is how the world works. So you need to get in on what's happening.
And in the new world of work, right? The new world of work, when we're taking our chance, when we're going out into the marketplace with our product or our services that we want to provide, right? And we're going to be these entrepreneurs that like you and me, right? That it is about the network. It is about creating kind of that overall personal brand, which goes right into the next topic,
That's right.
right? So having credibility, right? You are not your job, you're not your title, you're not your company, and and I read profiles for a living as a recruiter and a coach, and it's incredible how many times every day I see, VP at XYZ company, right? It's not even what they do, it's just their title, right? And it has to be a lot more in depth, right?
Here, let me build on that. People don't want to know what you do. They want to know what you can do for them.
Yeah, what can you
What's your
bring? Right,
value?
right,
And,
right.
and something else, the whole concept of how do I get a better job? Because I know I've been asked this a million times. The number one thing you can do to get a better job is build a personal brand. The number one thing you can do to start a company, build a personal brand. You want any opportunities at all in any area, build a personal brand. That's not because I'm in the content space and it's a
Yeah,
good idea. It's because people that know you it's the know, like, and trust thing. And the first step of that is knowing you.
yeah, knowing it and then understanding, right? That what are you a subject matter expert in, right?
Right.
Or what value can you bring? Another thing about the personal brand that I find a little off-putting these days with a lot of people. God help them, because they're getting laid off like crazy, right? In every industry, there's layoffs everywhere, and I speak to people that they're just so bitter or they're angry and like, oh, if only my manager, if only they took my idea or whatever. And that that angst, right? That angst or that anxiety, and it's just not sexy, right? And for anybody that you meet, you have to be a little sexy, right? To be attractive, so that they can say, yeah, you know what? Wow, you actually brought up some good points, rather than saying, wow, this person just complains all the time.
So, you know what solves that angst? Taking responsibility for everything. It's all your fault. When Rick Lomax doesn't pay me the $5,000 he owes me, it's my fault. When I don't close the customer, my fault. When
Yeah,
my
that's it.
boss didn't appreciate my idea, that I didn't convey it well enough, my fault.
That's right. Yeah, just own it. Just own it, and then be that active listener, right? Be that person
Yeah,
that's easy to work with. Be proactive in telling those stories, right? Own what happened, right? Own what happened. It's fine, right? Because ultimately, it's just
right,
timing. Ultimately, it's just timing.
right.
So,
So what's the future hold, Dan?
what does the future hold? Uh, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
You know, I know what the future holds. I have a magic 8 ball here.
Do you? Do you? I don't
Nobody
know.
knows what's coming, folks. Nobody knows. Like things happened. You remember when ChatGPT showed up on the scene? You remember when algorithms showed up on the scene back in the trading
Oh
world?
yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I actually knew. I was like, oh, my job as a equity sales trader's toast.
I'll tell you what the future holds. In 2016, I'm working at ITG, and we had rolled out the first AI-based algorithm for trading. Right, the hedge funds using this black box trading software. It's still around, and at the time, the guys that built it are standing behind me on the trading desk with little clipboards and writing as fast as they can as they're watching the machine trade. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just trying to understand why it's doing what it does." And I'm like, "What?
Oh,
What?" And that is the world we live in today. Like, what does the future hold? These things are growing and learning, and we don't know how they do what they do. You plug that into a bigger picture of companies are looking to leverage them. There's layoffs happening, there's economic uncertainty, political unrest, all that crap. You put it in the big shaker, you shake it up. It doesn't matter. No one knows. I don't know. Dan doesn't know, and you don't know either. The question is, what are you doing to prepare regardless? And that
so
you can control.
there was this World Economic Forum paper done in 2018, and it said that 90% of all jobs in 10 years haven't been invented yet.
Wow.
So, that's 6 years ago. So 4 years. So that means there's going to be a whole slew of new jobs, right? And we've already seen a couple of them,
Yeah. So I'll tell you this,
right? Prompt
prompt
engineer,
engineer,
right?
right?
Right. Right. What is that? And so John Stewart had like the best description of prompt engineer: person who asks
It's
questions,
great.
right? This is the best
I'll tell
thing.
you, this is my description of a prompt engineer. When my kids were about 10 or 12 years old, one of them said to me, "How come when I ask Google stuff, it doesn't give me the answer I want, but when you ask it, it does?" And I said, "It's called critical thinking. You have to phrase the question properly for the machine." That is prompt engineering. And
That's
by the
prompt
way, the
engineer.
concept of an AI engineer is real now. And what does that even mean?
Yeah, but
Right? There's
does the
there's
AI need engineers once it starts learning? And and
no.
actually, just this week it was announced that the Chat GPT has now consumed all of human knowledge.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
It's over. It's over. Like, it's got nothing more to learn about human knowledge.
There's a role, the AI prompting engineer that's going on everywhere. They can now link together AI workflows into what's called agent setups, where you've got the machine doing autonomous tasks in a sequence. So you basically have agentive workflow is what they call this. And so now you have agentive engineers to build these agentive workflows. The point is,
So they invented this new word, agentive.
right, as in Agent Smith agentive.
Yeah,
And
there you
so
go.
I'm not, this isn't an AI program, but the point is, no one knows how this is going to go, what the future is going to develop, what the jobs that will be. We don't know. But you do know that you can prepare yourself. Like there's steps we could
Right.
all be taking, myself included. Dan, we talk about it all the time, you and I, about what should we be doing for the business? How should we be preparing? And folks, maybe that means getting a new job. It probably does in the short term. Maybe it means staying in your current thing, milking it, building something on the side. That's what I would advise. But either way, you should be doing something other than waiting and watching and hoping.
Right. Right. Be proactive. Look forward. Look to the future. Don't be reactive. I mean, and this actually goes to the venture investment cycle, right? Which we've talked about a bit, but the venture investment cycle, what does VC and PE want? They want 7 to 10x return in 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
Right. And they know pretty much that whether or not they make that return, they're going to rotate that money into the next industry. And so growth industry, that's going to be the key, I think, for people that still want jobs. Go to that growth industry, and you got to have some
I want to build on that.
courage to do that.
I want to build on that with a simile. Like the PE and the VC folks don't know exactly what's going to happen, what companies will be their opportunity vehicles, or how the market will develop. But they do know what they want to have, right? 5 to 7% returns, or actually 5,000% returns, ideally. They know where they're trying to get to. They just don't know what the road up looks like. In that same
Right.
manner, we should be approaching our careers, our business opportunities, our
Right.
launches. Like I would say, if you're standing at the base of a mountain and you want to climb to the mountaintop, you don't know exactly what handholds and footholds you're going to use, but where you're going.
And you have to be ready to make a pivot at a moment's notice. Like, oh wait, that's not going to work. That I got to go over to this one. Right.
Loose ledge. Let's try this one.
Yeah. So with that though, right? Then what is the mountain? What is the mountain?
Most people don't take the time to define that, Dano.
Right. You gotta have your own mountain. Everybody's got to have their own mountain. Everyone has to, figure out, how do you get there? And it's.
But here's where this ties to school. The mountain, as you term it, was given to us back in the old days.
Not just given to us; it was told to us.
Yeah. Here's the mountain. It's called the corporate climb, whatever you want to do it. But basically, fit the role, be the person, you'll do fine. That thing is gone now, and school is not prepared for that adjustment. And I'm not blaming the school teachers. The system itself takes time to adapt, and the pace of change is out. It's just too great. So my point is, it's on us, you, to think about what's the end goal? What am I trying to get to? I know the goal, if it's just simply to pay the mortgage, get your kids through college. My kids are entering college shortly, so I feel the pain. But like, just hoping is not going to work. So what steps are we taking? If we fail, we fail. But if we succeed, we succeed. Like, this is on us now.
Well, I think it's on all of us, right? It's on all of us. And this is a perfect opportunity to announce to our audience.
Are we getting engaged?
Sort of. Sort of. But Mark and I and our good friend John Lovig, we are launching a series of trainings that will help people at different stages of their work life. And we looked for both early careerists, people that want to make pivots, or those that want to become an entrepreneur. And we would like to, we'd just like everybody to know that we're going to be launching this. So stay tuned, because to all of our feeds.
I want to give some context to this, though, Dan. For the folks listening, Dan and I have had this conversation for a while. People generally start off in a job. They eventually become unhappy and either switch jobs or decide to leave, like you and I did, Dan. There's different paths people pick. Neither one is right or wrong. It's whatever fits you. But the point is, you don't have the preparation that you need for any of those paths you're choosing. And so Dan and I were like, for the entrepreneur folks, they would really need to know, how do you build a product suite? How do you come up with marketing and content? Dan's like, for the job seekers, like, they don't understand the fact that a LinkedIn profile is more important than a resume these days. There's a world around your digital presence.
Right. It's been that way for gotta be 15 years. Gotta be that way. The dynamic is completely flipped.
And people come to both of us all the time, and as friends, Dan would always be like, Mark, this guy definitely needs your services. Or I'd be like, Dan, this guy's looking for something you can help him with. And we started to think about, well, how could we help people, right? This isn't about, it's not a selfish thing. It's more of like, God, if I could do it again, I've got kids. Dan, you've got kids. Like, the school system conversation comes up the back of, we're already helping people do these things. And we may as well make it a little more public.
Yeah, and we've been saying the same things over and over again to these people that come to us for help. They want us to help teach them, help coach them, and so we thought, well, why don't we do this at scale? And so that's why we're putting this school together, or I should say, the training platform.
Yeah.
But really, we're going to be launching this, and we think it's going to add a lot of value to people.
We're doing it in public, obviously, because we think this shows authenticity. I think for those who know Dan or me, like what you see is what you get. And so we'll see where it goes. We're excited about it. We hope you guys give it a look when it's ready. We'll keep you guys posted. That's all we got for you.
So this has been another episode of Everything to Gains, episode 5. You can watch the recording on YouTube at E2G Show. That is E2, number 2, G Show on YouTube. And as I play our theme song, just want to give a shout out to DJ Metronics, a good friend LJ Tisdale, who was
LJ.
He everybody. We appreciate your guys doing as well. Yes, we will be back. Oh, I couldn't hear you because I think you were being faded out.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Crank it. What were you going to say?
I was just saying thanks to everyone that's listened. We appreciate the support, Andy and the whole crowd.
Yeah, thank you to the audience. We really appreciate all of you, and we will see you next time.
Peace.
Good weekend. Talk to you
later.